Hey everyone, again, for those of you who've been watching these shed war videos that we've been doing here at Lava Kite Ranch, or I've been doing actually, more to the point because no one else is doing them. I'm Claire, and for those of you who don't know, I am vision impaired, so I do apologise in advance for any weird angles of the camera and all that sort of stuff. I'm doing this all on my iPhone because I find it's the most accessible technology as far as videoing goes. So if you hear some weird sort of talking in the background, that could be a thing called voiceover, which is a program that reads text on the phone to me and describes photos sometimes and does all sorts of cool things, but it is technology and it does mess things up sometimes. So anyway, today I was going to do a little bit on diversity because I was reminded this morning why we plant so many different things and have so many different things. We've had a tough year this year. We've had droughts, now we've got floods, which is great, bring that on. But we also had a black frost at the start of spring. About a month after spring had begun, we had a pretty bad frost that the fruit trees got a little bit sick and not much fruited this year, but everything's come back fine. But yeah, so diversity will help get food on your table even if things don't go too well. At least something will grow. And we had a bit of a miracle with our zucchinis, which I did a video on just after the black frost, where they actually came back, I think because there were healthy leaves underneath the wood chips, and although the frost killed off the stuff above the wood chips, it didn't kill the stuff below the wood chips. So the zucchini plants have actually come back and they're now doing really well and producing really well for us. So just something to think about. So I do a little bit of a video in the food forest, which I haven't shown you before yet, and yeah, we'll have a bit of a fun time over there, and we might see some horses on the way. The horses are out at the moment eating the grass that's been growing from the lots of rain we've been having. We need some more, but we've had 50 mil last night, so that was pretty good. Unfortunately it was all at once, but that's okay because we've built systems in to keep the water in the ground as much as possible. So, and we do live on a creek as well. So anyway, let's get into it and have a bit of fun walking around the food forest. We head down there. I thought I'd show you the Three Sisters bed that we talked about in the last video. The cukes are doing really well down the bottom there. The corn and the beans are sort of hidden a bit because of all the corn, but that's okay. That's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to protect each other from the sun and the bugs and the whatever else is. So there you go. And the yarrow up the end there, and the cauliflower that I'm allowing to go to seed for next winter. Well, autumn, winter. And the cauliflower, no, that's a broccoli. That grew back after I cut the top off it. I normally cut the top off plants rather than pulling them out so the worms can eat the dead roots and things, but it decided to grow instead. So there you go. Brassicas do that sometimes. That's fine. It can stay there. It's not, there's lots of nutrients in this soil, so it's not doing any harm to anything. And yeah, so there you go. That's an update, a quick update on the Three Sisters, how this one's doing. The other one unfortunately didn't do so well. Like I said, I think it's because it was in too much sun, and it does get very, very hot sun here because it sort of reflects off the granite rock of the granite belt area, so it does get very, very hot, the sun here. And I think it just burnt the corn. Actually it's zucchinis I got planted on the other one, but they're doing okay, and the beans are still growing up the corn stalks, but the corn unfortunately didn't make it. It nearly did. There's a couple of cobs that sort of tried to happen, but yeah, unfortunately I think it just got a bit burnt. But this one seems to be doing pretty well here, and it's a little bit, it's sun facing, but it's sort of protected a little bit, so hopefully we might actually get some sweet corn off these plants, and that'll be that. So yeah, there's an update. There's so many weeds in these beds at the moment because of all the rain, but that's okay, we'll pull them out. And I'll see you in the food forest. The grazing mares, all minis we have at the moment, except for one Welsh who's actually across the road, but these are all mini ponies. There's Sandy the Cremello, which is the white one for those of you who aren't horsey people. Shandy is in her 30s. She's a little brown mare, little bay mare. And Dolly, who is still fairly young, and she's the little pinto silver mare, or the sort of reddy colour with the blonde mane and tail and white patches on her. So there you go. That's some of our ponies. We have 6 in total. There's 2 across the road and a stallion here as well. So yeah, Magic, our stallion. He's a Palouse miniature. Sort of a few spot frosting for those of you who know our Palouses. You might be able to tell me what he is. I'm not very good with colours for obvious reasons, but anyway, for those of you who don't know horses, he's basically black with white spots. And he's a very gentle stallion. Very nice to be around, not like the wild things you see on TV. So he's enjoying some grass at the moment too. So we'll just go through this little section of the food forest. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in this smallish area, very deeply mulched. We also use the horse manure and the chicken manure underneath the mulch, and then we pile it up every winter. We put more manure and more wood chips down because we grow trees, herbs, vegetables and all sorts of things in the one section. And the reason we do that, like I said, is if there's a bit of a disaster and all of these zucchini vines had died off in that frost, we thought we'd lost them all, but they came back. Most of them came back. I had 5 in, I think, and 3 came back. So that was pretty good. But not only does diversity help with disasters and weather events and whatever, it also helps the plants, helps them grow and have like a bit of a community, a bit of diversity. Never hurt anybody. There's some oregano, or oregano as the Americans say. There's a tiny little pomegranate tree that will grow up and take up a lot of this section with shade. There's peppermint under this mulberry tree that's also helping to hold the moisture into the soil for that mulberry tree, and it's also taking up the nutrients that the mulberry tree can't use when it rains. Those nutrients come out through the leaves and go into the mint, and then the mint is also talking to the underground system, the soil system, the fungal and the bacterial domination, and that will help with both species, the peppermint and the mulberry, to grow. But also the peppermint's there to keep the ants away from the mulberry tree, because ants don't tend to like peppermint, neither do mice and all those sorts of things. Then over here near the peppermint, sort of about I don't know, 20 centimeters away maybe, is a loganberry, and again the peppermint will keep the bugs away from the berries, so that hopefully we'll get some. Won't keep the birds away, but that's okay. And then again you've got the zucchini plants there. They also provide a little bit of protection for some of the plants that are a little bit more sensitive to this really hot sun, as I was saying before. There's actually a pomegranate tree, not sure if you can see that, underneath the vine of the zucchini plant. So it's just protecting it a little bit from the elements, and actually helped when we had that really hot time. A couple of the plants suffered, but the ones under the zucchini plants that aren't overly heavy, so they're not pushing too much on those plants. We've got more loganberry here. And then under this tree I wanted to show you, under the vine I wanted to show you this tree that's actually quite sensitive to weather changes. I'm sorry about the camera angles again. I'm trying to do 3 things at once. Down in here, that's a kumquat tree, and it was actually starting to get a bit heat stressed and starting to die off a little bit. I pruned off all the dead stuff and hoped that the zucchini plant would protect it a little bit, and it certainly has. It's really started to take off again. and grow new branches, so that's good. Through the frost it was fine, but the heat actually got to it. Then we've got some lemon balm down here. We love our lemon balm, very, very tasty stuff. But again, protects from the bugs, keeps the ground cooler. Same with the zucchini plants and anything that covers the ground really. And it talks to all the systems just like everything else does. So the annual plants really, like the zucchinis, will die off in winter. They like the bacteria in the soil, so they'll take up a lot of the stuff that the manure provides. And then the trees, or the perennials, they like the fungal domination from the wood chips. So it seems to work really well. The ground here is absolutely terrible, but underneath the wood chips, if I just move some out of the way, as you can see, it's quite deep. But underneath, there's actually some quite nice, there we go, now you can see that. It's getting there. It's a lot better than the dirt or the soil that's not covered by the chips, I tell you. And it's a lot cooler under there too, so the roots of the plants are going to be a lot happier. As you can see, this thing's just taken off. This loganberry, it died off a bit with the black frost. It wasn't very happy, and it's really come back now and doing really well. We had some raspberries off our raspberry over here on the trellis, and this mulberry tree will grow over and shade this trellis eventually, which will provide the mulberries with some protection, but they can still get sun from most directions as well, but it's just protected sun, so it's a little bit filtered, protects the berries a bit more, stops the birds from seeing them as much, and also the leaves will drop their nutrients like they're doing now for the peppermint and give the raspberries some more nutrients. So anyway, that's a bit on diversity. Also over here, we've got the what do you call that thing? Veggia there too. Two veggias on the other side, which will also help to shade that area, protect it a bit from wind and whatnot. Here we have our wormwood. We actually use this as a natural wormer for ourselves and the animals as well. People say that this doesn't like to grow with other things, that it poisons the soil. It's growing right sort of in between mugwort, which also apparently destroys soil. We're not finding that we have any issues. It's probably if you've got maybe a degraded soil that's not so good, and you plant it there, it might stunt the growth of other plants. I'm not really sure what the theory is on that one, but anyway, it doesn't seem to be doing any harm for our surrounding plants. The veggia, it's not far from it. I don't know if you can see that because it's a tiny little tree at the moment. Is growing quite nicely. The peppermint also, like pretty close, is growing fine. The strawberries like peppermint, it keeps the bugs and stuff away from them. These are actually alpine white strawberries here. They were only planted not long ago, so they're still growing and settling into their environment and all that sort of stuff, and they're sheltered from these peppermints a bit. There's the other one. So they're loving this rain at the moment, that's for sure. And it's definitely quite a nice spot to sit here with the smell of the peppermint and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually the strawberries will probably take over this area where I'm standing and be a ground cover. They'll send out runners probably in winter, and all that sort of stuff will happen, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, they'll compete with the peppermint a little bit, but that's okay. We just keep the peppermint where we want it and don't let it grow over where they are. And I think that's about it. So in this small area, it's about, I don't know, smaller than the average backyard. I've got no idea how many square meters it is, but it's not very big. Has a mulberry, it has peppermint, it has oregano, it has lemon balm, it has loganberries, it has raspberries, it has a mulberry tree, it has wormwood, mugwort, strawberries, zucchinis, a kumquat, 2 feijoas, and I think that's about it. So it just shows you the diversity, and we actually want the herbs to take over this. A lot of people, that's going to spread, it's invasive. Yes, it is, but we want it to spread because we actually want it as a ground cover. So we want the ground to eventually be completely covered in herbs that we want rather than weeds that we don't want. And some weeds are medicinal as well, so we keep them around, but we want to get rid of the stuff we don't want because the ground's going to get covered anyway, whether it be weeds, grass or herbs, and we'd rather it be herbs, and then it will sort of take care of itself a little bit then as far as that goes. This raspberry tree has just gone, we only planted it at the start of the season, it's just gone nuts. It's lived through the black frost and everything. We've been eating raspberries off it already, and yeah, it's doing really well. This other one that's a bit smaller, it's actually a later season one, so we're expecting it to take off very soon. It already has started to, but yeah, we're expecting a bit more from that one later on as autumn comes into play, probably around February time. This will start to take off as well. So that's the other thing too, is to have different varieties of the same plant. So these are both raspberries, but one's a early variety and one's a late variety. Anyway, I don't want to be sitting here rambling for too long. That's part of our food forest. It's a small section. There's more section over there. There's weeds everywhere at the moment because of the rain, but that's okay. That I always forget the name of it. Lamb's ear. The lamb's ear over here is massive. Next to there's another mulberry tree here, and then there's the lamb's ear. A lot of people say that's a pest, which it is. It can be invasive, but it also is a very good band-aid. Alternative toilet paper. It is antiseptic and antifungal, I believe. I'll have to check that, but I'm pretty sure it is. So it is actually a medicinal herb that we kept around. I actually planted it there because there wasn't any growing here and I wanted some growing here. So we'll actually cut this back very soon and hopefully stop it from seeding too much and planting itself everywhere. But if it does, it's pretty easy to pull out anyway. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm more concerned about the Patterson's curse and things like that than I am about this being invasive as such. And it will be quite pretty when all this grows up. This has all got trees and things in it as well, and when it all starts to grow up around it, it will give a bit of a landscape thing. So it's just a bit of an example on how weeds and things can actually be beneficial. Got some rosemary and some lavender over there, again for bugs and also for use. The lavender's grown a whole heap. Got some watermelons over the back there that are still small. They should start to grow now with all the rain we've been having. Big trees got a bit damaged by the black frost, but anyway, that's another section we might do on another day. But it's got a whole heap of trees, herbs, shrubs, vegetables, and I did say herbs already, and flowers as well. It's got some borage under the mulberry tree there, because flowers are just as important as everything else because they bring the pollinating insects in. So there you go. I hope this wasn't too long, and I hope you enjoyed it and had a bit of fun walking around, well, standing around in the food forest with me. Eventually this will be a real forest with the trees growing quite high and shading things, and you know, we'll have to adjust some design probably then, but for now I'm quite happy with the design, and the food that we're getting out of here at the moment is a lot better than last year. It actually burnt to the ground last year, so this is regrowth from there. The mulberry tree hasn't been in all that long. I think it's been in 2 seasons. I planted it last spring, after the fire had already gone on. Was it last spring? Must have been. Yeah, anyway, whenever it was, yeah, this is the food forest 2.0 after the first one burnt to the ground, and we keep it a lot wetter now than we did that time, so And we've also done a bit of clearing to help with the fire situation should it happen again, although we've had quite a bit of rain lately, so hopefully we'll be right. But yeah, unfortunately with fire, diversity doesn't really help you much because it all burns. But we also have diversity of systems, and 2 of the systems that were not in the fire line, so to speak, survived, so we still had food that year. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is to have things in different places and doing different things rather than just one in one area in case something does come and take it out. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Thanks for being so supportive, everyone on the Shed Wars journey and people who are new to this journey. And yeah, I'll see you next video.